Hello and welcome to the latest Royal Roundup from TalkTV. So pop the kettle on. This is The Royalty. I'm Sarah Hewson. Coming up on today's show, Prince William returns to work. Prince Harry has his court appeal rejected. And have Harry and Meghan cut ties with the UK for good? Joining me today to discuss all that and more are the Times' royal editor Kate Mansey, TalkTV's royal correspondent Rupert Bell, and Vanity Fair's royal editor Katie Nicholl. Now, Prince William returned to work today for the first time since the Princess of Wales revealed her cancer diagnosis. They've been spending time together as a family since then, but William was back to royal duties today as he visited a surplus food charity and lent a hand in the kitchen. Kate, as I said, it's the first time he's back to work. They've had the Easter holidays to spend with the children, headed to Norfolk immediately after Kate had revealed that cancer diagnosis. But now it's back to business for Prince William.
That's right. I mean, it doesn't seem that long ago, does it,
No.
since we had that extraordinary video in which Princess of Wales addressed the nation and explained that she was having preventative chemotherapy after cancer had been found following her operation in January. And William took that time out with her over Easter with the children. But yeah, now it's back to business. We'll see if he mentions the princess when he's out and about today. He's going to be looking at something close to his heart, so food redistribution. So looking at where we've got surplus food, where you can take that to people who in places of poverty. So
it's kind of in line with what his father did with the Coronation Food Project as well, isn't it?
It is. This is something that Charles has been quite passionate about, and even in kind of Dumfries House, there's a fridge where locals can go to just take whatever they need, whether they've got surplus food from that house in Ayrshire. So it's something that he's worked on for a long time, and it's nice to see William kind of taking a leaf out of his father's book, I suppose.
Rupert, it's not the first time we've seen him, though, is it, since Kate's announcement? Because actually, I'm asking you this as a ardent Villa fan. He took George to watch Aston Villa last week.
Yeah, in the Europa Conference, and we managed to beat Lille, and because I am a season ticket holder, but sadly I couldn't be there in my seat, which is below the director's box. I could have waved at him, but he is a genuine football fan. We know he's president of the FA, but he's also committed to Aston Villa. So when he tries to find a way, and obviously, he's a dad taking his son to a football match in the Easter holidays. That's and Tyrone Mings, the player next door, well, I mean, we all hero worship him, and I'm sure George is looking up at him. There's the mighty Tyrone Mings. We won, which was good for morale, I would have thought, for William and George. But good to see him there, knowing he is a dedicated Villa fan. It's not just something that passes in the night, because he likes to nip into Bodymore Heath, which is, this is probably losing you completely here, but that is the training ground for Aston Villa. And if he's in the area, I'm told he just was suddenly, I want to go and see the players, because he's a fanboy.
A proper fan.
A proper fan.
And it's a touch of normality, actually, for him, but also for George, which is so important when they're going through a difficult time like this, Katie. And on the subject of normality, William also took a visit to the pub with his mother-in-law, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, we haven't seen any pictures, obviously, but, he's very, very close to Carol, and I think people will be interested to know just how much of a vital role she's played in all of this. I mean, Sarah, we were speaking off air, weren't we, about the huge pressure on Prince William as he deals with his wife's cancer diagnosis, his father's cancer diagnosis, that prospect of the crown coming ever closer at a time when William really wants this time with his young family. I think he's under a huge amount of pressure. He probably needed a drink at the pub. And I think anyone that goes to the pub with their mother-in-law shows just what a good relationship that is. I mean, when William and Kate got married, one of the things that she made him absolutely promise was that she would be able to keep her family close. And she has been able to do that, not actually out of any obligation on William's part, but because he loves Carol and Michael. And they have been absolutely essential behind the scenes to give that family all of the support that they've needed.
Yes, very much playing an important role now. But how will William juggle this now, Katie, that he's back to work?
Well, do you know what?
It's not going to be easy for them.
It's not going to be easy, of course
is
it's not.
it?
It's not. Like his grandmother, he is a great compartmentaliser, if if that's not a made-up word. He knows exactly how to compartmentalise, and that is, I think, a massive coping mechanism for him. He's got a good support and infrastructure around him. He will be hugely reassured knowing that Carol and Michael will always be there. If he can't actually be there, he's stepping in now for his father. I mean, it's going to be some weeks before we see Charles resuming public-facing duties. And he's very aware of that pressure on him. I mean, I was speaking to someone very close to him, an aide, actually, who was saying that his priorities have always been the same, that family will always come first. And it will, but this is an unprecedented time when the head of the institution isn't as visible as he would want to be. And therefore that pressure is on William as Prince of Wales to step up. So he will juggle because that's what he's brilliant at doing. But it's not going to be easy.
Meanwhile, King Charles cheerfully waved to royal fans and tourists as he left Clarence House on Wednesday after returning from a short trip to Scotland with Queen Camilla, where they celebrated their 19th wedding anniversary. It's become routine now, hasn't it? He returns to London, Kate, for treatment, carries out some duties during his time in London, and then they head off to either Sandringham or Windsor or Balmoral, Birkhall.
This is a great example of the Queen finally getting her way, of course, because she's been telling him to slow down. She went off for a week's holiday to sort of sunnier climes earlier in the year, leaving him behind. He was supposed to have a rest, but it transpired that he then filled that diary, which was always due to be a holiday week, with kind of various meetings with governors general of various Commonwealth realms and things like that. So I don't know what she thought of that. But yes, when he does return to London for his treatment, he ends up booking in kind of meetings in Buckingham Palace, and he's been maintaining those kind of audiences, those weekly audiences with the Prime Minister in person whenever he can. So he's been very keen to kind of keep going while kind of balancing that. But it was nice that they did have that kind of time together in Birkhall, which is this retreat on the Balmoral estate, as you know, where they love to go, and he feeds the squirrels there, and it's that kind of that place where they can really kind of spend time together.
And it was their wedding anniversary, 19 years since.
I can't believe that.
Their wedding.
I know, it's astonishing, isn't it? It's been that long.
Where's the time gone? But actually, you think from 19 years ago to where the Queen is now in terms of her public perception, that is the great PR move over the last 19 years. I wonder, did they test the tea that we will be able to buy if we take a tour of Balmoral?
Oh, the afternoon tea.
The afternoon tea. Do you think they've given it the royal seal of approval and just tested it while they were up there?
A soft launch.
A soft launch, just to see what.
I hope so.
Well, I hope so too.
And the new jam, perhaps.
Well, don't talk jam. I think we may be talking jams later, but anyway.
Well, I think that's interesting. That kind of 19 years. And you mentioned how far Camilla has come in public perception, but of course, when they got married, there was a public announcement that upon Charles becoming king, Camilla would be known as the Princess Consort,
yes.
sort of, because everyone was worried, she can't possibly be queen, you know. But now here we are. She's front and centre of a lot of the royal engagement, with the king away from public duties, Princess of Wales away, and Prince William on kind of reduced duties for now, while he looks after his wife.
And as for the king's potential return to duties, Katie, what do we know about plans for his schedule?
Well, that everything is sort of subject to how he's responding to his treatment and how he's feeling. So, Buckingham Palace have to caveat that with everything. But I understand that within about 4 weeks, we're going to see him resuming public duties, which, of course, he hasn't really done. I mean, whatever treatment he's going through, and we don't know, could compromise his immune system. There are things considered, as Kate said, he's been keeping audiences and he has been meeting people, but you can bet your bottom dollar that will have all been very carefully checked. I mean, it was lovely to see him after the Easter Day service going and shaking the hands of well-wishers. He is desperate
to be back at work. How much he enjoyed that moment
absolutely.
out with the public.
This is what brings him,
and the King's
happiness
birthday.
in his life.
The King's birthday parade, he would
he will be there for that. My understanding is that as long as he is well enough, which it's all looking positive, he will, and I think that will be the big return to public life. But saying that, he's also going to have to sort of manage his own expectations. We know his work ethic, we know it's punishing, but he's also going through a huge ordeal. So again, it's that juggling, and it's a period of adjustment for the royal family.
There's garden parties and everything that happened in June as well. Then there's Royal
It's a busy
Ascot.
period. There's Ascot. It's a very busy period.
All of those being outdoor events,
Yes.
which does actually make a big difference,
Yes,
doesn't
but
it? If you're
physically
trying to
very,
protect
very
someone.
demanding.
To Harry and Meghan now. have they said goodbye to the UK for good? The Duke of Sussex now lists himself officially as US resident, and in what some have seen as a swipe at the palace, documents show that Harry backdated this new status to the same date he and Meghan were asked to leave Frogmore Cottage. Kate, this is a document that was filed with Companies House for Travelist, his ecotourism organisation, and country of residence was listed as the United States, the date, the 29th of June last year. Why is that significant?
Well, I think this shows, doesn't it, where he's looking out. That when we had that kind of 1 year to the next Invictus Games, he gave that interview to the American anchor, and he failed to kind of rule out his opportunity to get American citizenship. He didn't say yes or no. I mean, he's always said that the UK is his home, and that's been why he's been fighting the Home Office over this decision to remove his police security. But he's just been refused the chance to appeal that. It will now go to the Court of Appeal, we understand. But I think, sort of 4 years on from Megxit, it looks like he's very much kind of settled over in the States, and that's where his young family is, and that's where I expect he'll stay.
I mean, we kind of knew this, didn't we, Rupert? He doesn't have an address here in the United Kingdom anymore since they handed back the keys to Frogmore Cottage. The US is his home. I mean, as Kate said, there have been kind of conflicting accounts. When he's talking to the US media, he's talked about very much feeling like the United States is home and that citizenship was a possibility. When he's putting together his legal documents for the Home Office, the UK is home and he wants to be welcome and his children to be welcome here.
And this security issue, which I think, well, personally, I'm just feeling that he's just making too much of it, because he would always get necessary security. And this is a convenient excuse. And the moving to America, yes, he's taken that life, and that seems to be, if you're moving somewhere, he's married now with his children, it's a permanent sort of not severing, because he's always going to be a member of the royal family. He's just not a working member. He's got a lot to sort out of how he managed it going forward with his relationship with this country, because at the moment it doesn't feel as if he's endeared himself to everyone in this country. Of course, he'll have some supporters, but overall you just feel that he feels like he's unwelcome here, but it's probably his own doing.
How much do we read into this piece of paper, Katie? Some suggesting it shows how deeply wounded Harry is by how he's been treated by the family. Does it tell us that? Is it?
Well, I think knowing what I've known of him for the years that I've sort of covered him, written books about, I think that route out was always something that was very attractive to him. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to blame Meghan and Megxit for everything. I think she was just a catalyst. I think Harry always wanted the opportunity for that exit. William didn't want it. He wanted his wingman. He wanted to have Harry here by his side. Imagine the landscape, if we're looking at it now, with Harry here. We'd be in a very, very different position. But Harry has wanted out. So it doesn't surprise me that he wants to make the States his home. Big question mark if Trump gets in, whether it will be his home. I'm sure it will be. But as Rupert's saying, he's made his new life there. His children are being raised in the American education system. They speak with American accents. You're never going to take the California out of Meghan. So yes, he's made his new life. And the reception when he does come home is going to be interesting, because of course he's going to be back in May for the 10th anniversary of Invictus. That's going to be the sort of first opportunity, I suppose, to see, although it will be within the Invictus community where he's always welcomed and deemed a hero. And it is where we see the very best of Harry. You do, absolutely. You see the best of him. But it'll be interesting to see the public reception and the sort of turnout towards him. Of course, he did come back as soon as his father was diagnosed with cancer, so he has been back. But I think that's going to be quite an important visit.
Yeah, and as Kate mentioned, the Duke of Sussex has lost his initial bid for an appeal against the decision taken by the Home Office to change the level of his personal security when he visits the UK. Harry took legal action against the government over the February 2020 decision that he should receive a different degree of taxpayer-funded protection when in the country. The judge described the appeal prospects as frankly hopeless and ordered him to pay 90% of the Home Office fees, stating that his submissions relied on a great deal of unsupported speculation. He's facing, an estimated million in legal fees. And reading Mr. Justice Lane's words, they were pretty damning and humiliating for Harry, weren't they?
They were, weren't they? I mean, he's basically had enough and said, look, I don't want to hear your appeal. By all means, take it to the Court of Appeal, but, you know, enough's enough. Interestingly, he did have a pop, the judge did have a pop at the Home Office because they delayed. There was a key piece of evidence that they really dragged their heels over, which was this piece of evidence about who RAVEC, the committee that decides who gets public, you know, VIP security, who they give it to. And there was a key element that they missed out, which Harry feels very aggrieved about because that could have been part of his claim and part of his case. So the judge sanctioned the Home Office on that front, but Harry had been hoping for sort of 50 to 60% reduction in his costs that he would pay the Home Office, and it only kind of came down to a sort of 10% discount in the end. But these legal costs are mounting, of course. This isn't his only case. You know, there are several cases now that the Duke of Sussex is launching across various different, you know, media outlets and things like that. So these bills are going to rack up. So either he's going to have deep pockets or he's going to have people supporting him in order to...
Meghan's going to have to sell a lot of jam, which
That's
we'll
right.
discuss later on in the programme. But Rupert, there was a rap over the knuckles for the government, for the Home Office, but there was also a rap over the knuckles for Prince Harry because it turns out that he breached confidentiality rules during the case.
Yes, he did. And this is where you think, Harry, wake up. And that's what the judge is saying to him. You've got to... You know, he gets himself into these pickles because he doesn't think it through. And this is the problem. The security is never going to be an issue for him here. It's whether, because if he's coming to the Invictus Games, you know for a fact they're going to make sure that is going to have all the necessary security. So you've just wondered, why has he wasted all this money on something that it almost seems it's a rite of passage? He just feels he's got to do these things. You may know better than I, but that's the way it feels to me looking out, that he just seems to find... he's got a point to prove. But
I think a big issue for him is that he feels he cannot bring his family over safely. And, you know, when you consider what happened to his mother, and of course she was stripped of her security when she lost her HRH. I know he hasn't lost his title, but he's lost that sort of automatic right to security. I think you can understand his anxieties, but on the flip side, he's earning a huge amount of money. We know how lucrative those deals are. If you're that worried about your family's security and you've made the decision to leave the country and leave as a working member of the royal family, I think many people, particularly British taxpayers who foot that bill, would say, then you pay for it.
Yeah, and the argument about the children, Kate, is one that he made very strongly during the case, wasn't it? He was talking about it being his home, but also this being a very important part of his children's heritage.
Yes.
And he wants Archie and Lily to be able to be a part of this country, and at the moment says it's not possible.
That's right. And I mean, his argument is he remains fifth in line to the throne. He is the son of the king. No matter that he doesn't do duties, he thinks the risk to him remains the same, so he should still get that police security. But as Rupert points out, the deal was it's on a case-by-case basis, and it's not that he will never get police security again. It just depends what he's here to do. And, you know, as Kate said, he could pay for it himself, or I'm sure the king would help foot the bill. His issue is, well, if I'm hiring private security, I don't have that, you know, that Met police intelligence. I don't have that Scotland Yard intelligence. I'm not going to have firepower or weapons or anything like that should anything happen to me. So, yeah, I think there's it's going to rumble on for years. I mean, the strength of the kind of resentment and kind of anger against the kind of establishment here, I think it just runs so deep with Harry that he's not going to give that up. It's almost the thing that kind of keeps driving him through these continued court battles.
And he's made it clear he is going to go to the Court of Appeal, so this is going to roll on for some time yet. And all the while, those legal bills keep racking up.
A lot of lawyers making a lot of money out of him.
But they seem to be the only winners, don't they, at this stage?
And you look at some other children in the royal family. You look at the Tyndalls. They're out and about, and yet there will be a sort of small level of security around them, but they can lead normal lives. I just wonder, why should they... OK, he's fifth in line to the throne, but there is always security. They think... You know, the security people aren't going to have their head in the sand and say, Harry's here, and just leave him. I really do think they would make sure the children would have some level of protection. If they're in the Windsor bubble or Balmoral or wherever it is, there's security there anyway. So this is where I think people will feel frustrated.
But the point is they're not in the Windsor or Balmoral bubble at the moment, are they? You know, they don't have a base here, and relations are not such that they're readily welcome back into the fold.
Well, I mean, there's enough royal accommodation to go around, isn't there? I'm sure the king could find some sort of remote quarter in Windsor Castle, not just enough distance from William and Kate. But yeah, I mean, they don't have Frogmore Cottage, they don't have a base over here. But these are the things you give up when you decide to leave for another life. But I suppose the current situation, the king's illness, Catherine's illness, have throw a different light on the situation, and I think perhaps a more pressing need for a reconciliation in some form. But yeah, accommodation isn't going to be a problem. I can't imagine.
We've mentioned it already, but the Duchess of Sussex has officially launched her new lifestyle brand by sending jars of strawberry jam to influencers across the United States. Meghan gifted the limited edition jars to promote her new venture, American Riviera Orchard, which was announced online last month. I don't think any of us were on the top 50 for a jar of Meghan's strawberry jam. Katie, what did you make of this? Beautifully presented amid lemons and flowers.
I know, but it's a pot of jam. Sorry, I just don't get it. I don't understand the name of this venture. I don't understand the concept behind it. I thought when she was going to do this website, I thought it was going to be a sort of Gwyneth Paltrow Goop style thing with yoga and holistic practices and, Meghan teaching us all how to be more zen. I didn't expect a pot of strawberry jam. I'm sorry, I'm slightly underwhelmed.
And the labels looked...
Well, they were peeling off.
Yeah, as if she'd done them at home.
Yes.
You know when you go get
You're a jam maker, Rupert, aren't you?
I do make my red currant jelly and jam,
Yes.
but I haven't sent it to I give it to friends.
Yes, but do
so
put
does
a number on it.
in return for
You see,
Instagram
if I'd
posts.
got one of those, I'd definitely be looking to see which number, how I was ranked.
Good point.
I'll bring one in next time.
Important.
I'm only 89.
I'll bring a pot of my red currant jelly, but my labels look just like Meghan's, pretty ordinary. So, I hope mine tastes better than her strawberry jam, because we don't even know it was strawberry, because did we see anyone eating any of it in one of those pictures?
Don't think so.
They all
Don't
said
think
how
so.
lovely to get it, and it's perfect marketing. But do you think she actually was in the kitchen?
Well, there
Put
was
it-
video,
with her
wasn't there?
thermometer?
Slightly blurred, so it was hard to see what she was actually doing. I mean,
Does she wait for the sugar to get to exactly the right temperature?
she is a good cook. I mean, she
That's
spends a lot of time in the kitchen, right?
And that's where
I'm
her
sure
pig blog started,
Exactly.
really, wasn't it, around food? And...
Oh.
Yeah.
And when the sugar boils over, I'm sure she's got someone to clean it up. My wife,
Perhaps.
I have to send the wife out of the house when I'm
wonder
making
if
jam.
this process of her making the jam will all be part of her new lifestyle programme.
Well, yeah, like I said, like Katie, I think I expected kind of yoga mats and kind of tableware and, posh kind of napkins and things like that. But this seems to be a kind of very kind of soft launch of what the direction they're going. I mean, if she wanted to make jam, perhaps she should have stayed here and joined the WI or something. I mean,
Well, she's taken a leaf out of Kate's book, actually, because I don't know if you remember, it was a story I think we did together many years ago. But one of Kate's first Christmas presents was homemade jam.
And wasn't it
Do you
her
remember?
grandmother's recipe
Yes,
that
and she
used?
gave it to the Queen, and it was her favourite present because it tasted delicious. But the Queen loved the idea that
mean,
she
what do
made
you
it.
buy the Queen?
Well, there you go. Make her the jam.
In rather less wholesome news, Meghan Markle's brother has been condemned for appearing to mock her in a series of YouTube rants, dressing up with a cushion stuffed under his jumper and calling himself Meghan. Let's take a look.
Hi, everybody. My name's Meghan Swamp Donkey Crotch. I was just showing off my new bump that I bought used on eBay out of Montecito.
Rupert, I don't know whether you've sat through any of these videos. I mean, they're pretty horrific, actually, aren't they?
It's horrendous. Because, there's enough problems in the family, and you have a degree of sympathy for Meghan here and go, look, why feel the need to have a go at his half-sister in such a blatantly cruel way as well? And, reacting to all the conspiracy theories that are out there and everything. No, I looked at it for about a minute and went, and I've seen enough. And it just... They are, clearly there's a confused and troubled family at times, and he's just typifying that. Sorry, I only watched it. Did you watch it all?
I couldn't actually bring myself to watch it. I was thinking, why does he have a YouTube channel? I mean, if he's using it for that sort of a purpose, you have to question why. I mean, that's a whole social media debate, I suppose, in terms of responsible social media posting, and we haven't seen very much of that. But you don't expect to see it from a family member, no matter how estranged.
No, I mean, I did watch a couple of them because I was reporting on it and wanted to see what he was talking about. And it is really awful. And in response to the story in the Sunday Mirror, I think it was, about him doing this video, wearing the black wig and with the cushion and kind of playing into the moon bump conspiracy theories, he responded, and he had the half-sister Samantha Markle on that particular stream saying, well, everyone else talks about our family, why shouldn't we?
Well, I mean, it is a kind of a troubled family, isn't it? We've seen Samantha Markle, Meghan's a sort of estranged sister, pursuing her through the courts. There was the whole debacle over her father not coming to the wedding and him feeling like he's been cut out of her life. So it is a very sad story, and given the kind of tragedy in Harry's own childhood with his mother dying when he was so young, it's such a shame that they've both had kind of difficult family experiences. But then, you know, you think that this might make them, you know, more grateful for the family they do have here in the UK, but sadly not.
No, and Katie, as you said, the social media model, because as I was watching it, you realise why people do these things, because you can
Make
tip
money,
him.
yeah.
You can give him money
Yeah.
for what he says.
I suppose there's always going to be that sort of audience that no matter how gross or offensive something is, they'll sort of feed that machine. And I think we saw that with all of the wild conspiracy theories around Princess Catherine and her health condition. And, you know, you would hope that the people that fed that whole narrative sort of would feel some sense of remorse or responsibility. Who knows? I mean, there's an anonymity in all of social media, and they're just fueling it. But you know, you would hope most people would have the good sense to not just not tip, but to turn it off.
Absolutely. Finally, the late Queen enjoyed it when things went wrong on an engagement. That is according to one of her long-term aides, Samantha Cohen. The Queen had no ego, Cohen said. She was so comfortable in herself, yet she loved it when things went wrong. If a cake was not cutting or a plaque didn't unveil because everything was so perfectly organised, it spiced her life up when things went wrong. I'm sure you've been at engagements when things went wrong, and you can understand why, because everything is planned with such great precision.
Yes, and Sam Cohen really knows. She was there for years and real kind of trusted aide of the Queen, and was actually helped Meghan when she joined the family as well. So she really knows what she's talking about, Sam Cohen. And yeah, it's that brilliant moment if something goes wrong, or, you know, they pull the thing and the curtain won't open to unveil the plaque, and you can see the courtiers just kind of wishing the kind of ground would open up and swallow them, and the Queen's sort of chuckling away.
It's where some of the best photographs actually come from, isn't it?
That's right.
Because you see her, you know, open smile and laughter as something has shaken things up a bit.
Or she's taken a sword to cut a cake, and everyone's thinking, my God, is this a good idea? The Queen is just relishing it and thinks it's absolutely
I
wonderful.
think she said this is more unusual, didn't she? When she did that. I think that was at the G7 summit. Rupert, what are your favourite kind of memories of things going wrong?
I'll tell you a personal story. My son said to the Queen, and he introduced me to the Queen by saying, "This is my father. He slept in your car park after my brother had a big race win." And she roared with laughter because she just liked the idea that I was out celebrating. So we know she had a fantastic sense of humour, and that's the important thing. And just to take the heat out, if things go wrong, if she was seen to be laughing, it would actually it diffuses the situation, because everyone goes, the Queen's not too bothered. And that was why she was loved by all and sundry. Yes, everything was, you know, the people have been scrabbling away behind to make it perfect. But if it went wrong, she would relax everybody by laughing.
She was quite a prankster as well, that she would leave chocolates by the piano downstairs at Sandringham, and then she would sort of hide upstairs looking over the top of the kind of balcony to see who would walk by and nick one. Yes, so that she could rebuke them later, and they would go, how did she know? How did anyone... They walk by and no one's looking, and then she'd pull them off on it later just for fun. But yeah, it's that wit and sense of humour that I think she brought to the job that sustained her for all those years.
Well, that is all we've got time for. My thanks to Kate, Rupert and Katie. If you want to join in with the debate, please leave a comment and make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss a single episode. We'll be back next week with all the latest on the royal family. Hope you can join us. We'll see you then.